Hey everybody, I got something really cool I want to show you. It's how I monitor my telescope and my session while I'm inside or I'm away, and it allows me to keep track of everything. And it's a really cool system that uses the advanced API in Nina, and I thought I'd share with you my Astrophotography Dashboard. Stick around, I'll show you what's going on. My name is Doug, this is Astro AF. So yeah, I think this is pretty cool. I'm going to give you a walkthrough of my astrophotography dashboard and show you what I've done. Basically, what I have is I've created a dashboard and I've connected through the advanced API in Nina to all of my equipment and my session so that I can keep track of things. And I wanted to show you what I got going on there. I won't waste any more time. Let's head over into the dashboard and I'll walk through all of the different panes that I have in that. And then I'll show you how I connected it using the advanced API over in Nina. All right, so this is my dashboard, and I've put up a bunch of different cards that let me know basically what's going on with my session. And so I'm currently targeting Hickson 68, which is a group of galaxies that I've been working on for quite a while. The weather has been horrible, and it just hasn't been cooperating. Tonight's the first night in a couple weeks that I've been able to get on target, and I've been waiting to do this video because I need to be on target so I can kind of show you what's going on with the dashboard. So yeah, so I've got my object, Hickson 68, over here in the top left. I started at 2141 my time. And I have a card here that's letting me know what my current altitude is on the target at 44 degrees. And again, target alt. I have this again here because this actually gives me a graph over time of the change in altitude. And then my current guiding RMS, which is 1.17, a little higher than I'd like, but it's doing okay tonight. And our conditions are really good and everything. This was down about 0.75 earlier, as you can kind of see in here, and 0.46 and 0.79. So yeah, anyway, it's going up a little bit right now, but hopefully it'll come back down. I get my target information, so RA and deck information, and what time it's expected to end, which is 6:50 a.m. And so I've got, it's about 10:10 my time right now, p.m. And so I've got a good amount of time left on the target. I just got going about 30 minutes ago. I'm running my Player One camera via ASCOM, and my camera sensor temp is at -10 right now. This is telling me I'm running luminance. So let's go have a look at that real quick, because that is incorrect. No, it is HA. I wonder why it's showing luminance. I'll have to look into that. And then my meridian flip is going to be in 4 hours. So I added some controls here for my mount. I've got an emergency stop for my mount. I can park it, unpark it, and I can go to the home position from these buttons. My current state of pier is pier west, and I'm currently tracking. I am not parked, and I am not at the home position. The mount RA and deck here compared to the target RA and deck over here. On this side, I've got my video feed, and then I've got my current weather and wind conditions. No gusts right now, 3.6 meters per second on the wind speed. I don't have any clouds and no precipitation. Just a weather forecast for the night, so I can keep an eye on that. And should be clear most of the night. A little bit of partly cloudy here, maybe coming up in an hour or so. We'll see how that goes. And my wind direction, ambient temperature and humidity, dew point, and our current pressure. This is kind of just a holistic view of what's going on in my session. Gives me an opportunity to actually view the video feed and monitor the telescope, then provide me with all the information that I need at a glance as to what's going on. So I want to show you how I connect to all this. So we'll head over to Nina here real quick and have a look at that. So yeah, over here in Nina, let's head over into the plugins and the advanced API plugin. So they have this documentation link here. So if we open that up, we'll head over to their advanced API. This is great. This allows you to make REST API calls to just about any functionality that you have in Nina. I mean, honestly, you could create a complete session control for your mount and anything that you're currently using in Nina. So over on the left, we take a look. We've got the Nina application API, camera dome, events, filter wheel, flat panel, flats, focuser. So basically everything that you have available in Nina is available in the API. And these API docs give us what we need in order to be able to figure out what our endpoints are that we need to call. For example, on getting what's interesting here, if we want to go to like the camera API, like what's the current information about the camera? We can make a GET request to the equipment/camera/info endpoint. And what that gives us back is over here on the right. Here's the JSON object that we actually get back with all the different properties and their values that are available to us in this. So, this could be, we look over at what our default gain is, our current bit depth, our offset, probably have our camera state, basically all the details. If the cooler is on, what the cooler current power is. So anyway, there's all sorts of stuff in here that you could use for monitoring and controlling your equipment. And in this case, getting information about your camera. And, we also have sensor temperature. Let me see if I can find it here. The temperature to cool the camera to the actual temperature. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff in here. Basically, just deciding what you need coming through here. So like camera was one of the things, the mount, if I scroll over to the left of the API docs here to find the mount API. So this is where I can get all the request information here. So how do I use this? If I go back over into the dashboard, I'll show you how I use these requests. And I think it's important to note that if I go back to Nina here, this is my IP address. It's on my local network. I'm at 192.168.1.199 right now on port 1888/API. All right. And so that's my device IP address on my own internal network. And that's going to be important to know because we need to use that for the API calls. That's the base URL. So back over here at the dashboard, if we go to the file editor, this is in Home Assistant again. I'm in the file called configuration YAML, which is the main configuration file for Home Assistant. And these are my API calls. In this case, these are the REST commands that I'm using for my mount control. So that emergency stop button. And here's my IP address. Okay. And that's how I'm going to access the mini PC that has Nina running on it. And then I'm going to make that API call. So my base URL here, and then the rest of this URL comes from the API documents. And I want to call the endpoint, which is the equipment mount slew stop endpoint. So whenever I call that, that's going to give a stop command to my mount. The same thing here with this one. It's the park command. Park mount, or unpark, or home. And I can kind of go through these, they're all basically the same. In this case, I'm setting up a sensor. So on these other ones, these were actually REST commands. So sensors are a little bit different. These are things where we're getting readings from, like our sensor temperature for the camera. So our camera info that I was showing in the API, we make a GET request to that. And then this value template is the data that comes back that's in JSON format. And we're looking for the temperature property out of that. And that gives us what populates the camera sensor temperature, which is right here in this visualization for negative 10 degrees Celsius. If I go in and edit this and click on that to edit, the sensor temperature here is called sensor.sensorTemperature. So if I go back to the YAML file and we look for that camera info temperature, so it's a sensor temperature. So it takes the name here and it actually put it together with an underscore, and the property is temperature, which is what we get back in this value template. So I do that for all of the different cards on my dashboard. Each one of these has their own REST call over to the API. And then I just configure them and set them up, make them look nice with whatever styling. In this case, we can look at like the code editor on this. And so it's a type of gauge that gives us this visualization in this gauge format here. Really easy to use. The entity that I'm getting, which is the sensor temperature, and its name that we see underneath here, which is camera temp. And I have the units. You can set this up at Fahrenheit if you'd like, and it'll do a conversion. I think you have to do the math conversion over or get the Fahrenheit temperature from the API. And then the theme, I'm using this mushroom shadow theme, and it's different minimum and maximum, so -30 to 70 degrees Celsius. And I gave it a needle, which is what we're seeing here, this white needle. And then different severities, blue being in our cold range, green within our decent range of temperature. You know, I'm trying to stay right on -10, but I've got a little bit of leeway here. Yellow, we're getting too warm, and red, we're definitely too warm. Something's wrong. I've done this for each one of the different cards and gauges, and I've implemented them. I just wanted to show it to you because I think it's pretty cool, and it allows me to really keep good track. I can also access this remotely, so I have the Home Assistant app on my phone, and I can monitor my session while I'm away. So anyway, it's really handy. So yeah, anyway, quick video. I hope you like that. I think it's really cool. And if you want to try to do something like this yourself, it was a little bit daunting to get into it first, and once I started making sense of it, it started to come together. There's a ton of documentation available on Home Assistant, and the Nina API it's awesome. So the guys were very helpful over in the Nina Discord. I actually found a bug, and I worked with the API developer, and he sent me a patch to test for him, which I did, and because I was able to reproduce the issue on my machine. And yeah, he sent me a patch to test, which did fix my issue. It was giving me an incorrect IP address. And yeah, within like 24 hours, they sent me a patch after I posted what the problem was. And then I tested that out for him and sent him back what I found. And yeah, anyway, it was a lot of fun working with them and helping out. So stuff like this, I think, is really cool, and it's a lot of fun to mess with, and to be able to also, it's very useful for me to be able to monitor my session, when I can't be at the scope, when the weather conditions are poor enough, cold enough, or in the summertime enough mosquitoes where I'm trying not to get outside as much as I normally would in other types of weather. But for whatever reason that I need to be away, I can still monitor my session, and I think that's really useful. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. My name's Doug. This is Astro AF.